Good and good evening, everyone. Welcome to MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is 19 January 2021. We skip this housekeeping as you are regulars. MSBS is fortunate to have with us Bhante Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh. Bhante was born on July 14, 1985. Bhante had his bhikkhu ordination in the Thai Dhamma sect at Santi Forest Monastery in Johor, Malaysia in 2008. He spent his first 5-string retreat in various forest monastery in Malaysia and Thailand. He is currently the Vice President of Wat Palelai Buddhist Temple, Singapore. Today's guided meditation is based on Maha Satipatthana Sutta. Bhante will be leading the homage to the Buddha and taking up 5 precepts for Buddhists. Now let us compose our minds. Welcome, Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Terence. Now, shall do this opening chant. Homage. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. And the 5 precepts. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Suramiraya Majapamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, good evening. And welcome to the 3rd lesson on this Maha Satipatthana Sutta, the greater discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Right, so today we're going to continue with the mindfulness of the body. Actually, just one more segment left before we complete. So just a short recap. Okay, next slide. Okay, this one is the intro we're going to go through next. Okay, so the objective, I will always repeat because we're going to repeat this many times, is to, we said it's a direct path for purification of beings, right? That means there's, how do you call this, the Buddhist path. So whatever tradition you're practicing, it has to be sort of in line with this. So there can be, a person can intellectually understand Buddhism or the Dhamma, right? But if the method-wise or in practice, they may be practicing something else, due to the interpretation then it's not really the that so direct path. Yeah, so it has to lead to overcoming of sorrow and lamentation. So this is the benchmark. So if the more you practice, the more stressful you get, or the more craving you have, then definitely out of the question. Yeah? And he has to overcome this disappearance of this pain and distress, attainment of the right method. Yeah, so there's Eightfold Path for the realization of unbinding. In other words, the 4 frames of reference. So which 4 next? So these are the 4 things: mindful of body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma, the 4th one, translation, yeah, Dhamma. So again, if you want to compare with this Satipatthana Vibhanga Sutta, the analysis of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, then you emphasize you need to be mindful of impermanence, the rising and passing away of the body, feelings, mind, and the Dhamma. So this one will emphasize over and over again, not just in theory, but also in practice. Right? The whole idea is to put aside greed and distress with reference to the world. So this is the main goal, main objective. Okay, next. Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about the 9 stages of bodily decomposition. So if you look at this diagram over here, this picture, you can see this monk meditating, and in front of him, there's this a series of images, right, from a corpse, fresh corpse, all the way to a decomposing corpse, all the way to these bones. So I won't go through in detail, but you just remember this picture for a moment, because this is a rarely seen kind of sight. Only those who work probably in the medical profession, or as maybe an undertaker, they get to see corpses, right? If not, most people won't get to see corpses. So nowadays, there's this thing called cemetery meditation. So it's not even close to these 9 stages of bodily decomposition, because in the cemetery meditation, the body is already buried under. So you're just sitting up on top of the tomb, and it's not more for adventure and scare yourself a bit. But that's not the point. The whole idea is to understand impermanence and to overcome this we call craving or lust. Yeah. Okay. Next. So we covered the breath. Can skip all the way actually. Yeah. Breath covered. 4 postures we covered. Next. Yeah. Activities we covered last week. Yeah. Next. Impurities of the body. So this is very close. Okay. Next. 32 part. Yeah. Next. 4 elements very close. Next. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the 9 stages of bodily decomposition. So you need to zoom in if you find the font a bit small. So there are 9 points, so there are 9 stages. So I'm just going to sort of briefly read them through so that I won't skip or miss anything. Okay, so furthermore, as if he were to see a corpse cast away in a charnel ground, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days dead, bloated, livid, and festering. He applies it to this very body, this body too. Such is its nature, such is its future, such is unavoidable fate. All right, so this is the first stage. So most probably in wakes or funerals, you might be able to see this. Normally in most places, if there's like a funeral director, the undertaker, they will inject in formalin to preserve the body, so the body won't decompose so quickly. So if let's say the wake or the funeral is held over maybe long periods of time, a person might see some signs of decomposition. So this is the first stage. So most people might be able to see the first stage of decomposition. Okay, and number 2, or again, as if he were to see a corpse cast away in a charnel ground, picked at by crows, vultures, and hawks, dogs, hyenas, and various other creatures. Okay, so this is the second state. So this is probably we won't get to see it in our modern kind of society. So unless the body is deserted somewhere in the nature, then you might be able to see certain animals picking and eating on this corpse. So if most of the body, they pass away in hospital or hospices or at home and reported to the relevant authorities to get the death certification, we won't get to see this number 2, right? So who knows? Maybe those doing, maybe the detectives, police detectives, they might be able to see more of this. Yeah. Okay, and number 3, a skeleton smeared with flesh and blood connected with tendons. And number 4, fleshless skeleton smeared with blood connected with tendons. Number 5, skeleton with flesh or blood connected with tendons. So it gets lesser and lesser, more and more diminished. Bones detached from the tendons, scattered in all directions. Right, the hand bone here, there, a foot bone, there, a shin bone. And that means the whole idea is all the bones are scattered all over the place. Right, and number 7, the bones whiten somewhat like the color of shells. So they're saying the bones are somewhat naturally yellow, like our teeth. Right, so there's no point whitening our teeth. Right, teeth there's some yellow. Number 8, piled up more than a year old. And number 9, decompose into powder. So eventually it turns to like powder and ash. Yeah, applies to its bare body, this body too. Such is its nature, such is its future, such its unavoidable fate. Okay, so this is the kind of reflections. Okay, so in our meditations, we do a bit of this decomposition in our first phase of meditation, when we visualize the parts of the body, external parts of the body. We are going to visualize the hair growing long, or the skin turning old, wrinkling, decaying, and then falling off. So it's just very superficial, not to this extent, because most people may not get to see all these processes, maybe the most 1 or 2, stage 1 or 2. And they won't get to see all those, all the decaying, because there's no channel ground in a modern society, unless maybe you talk about maybe some places in India, right? Some places in India, they might see this. There's, I've went to this pilgrimage before. We went to this this river. What's the name of the river? Forgotten, yeah. Terence, you know what's the river near Bodh Gaya?
Is it Ganges?
What? Yeah, Ganges River. Yes, correct. Ganges River. Yeah, now I recall. So the Ganges River, there's a place where they burn corpses. So there's an area where they pile up corpses, until it becomes so many corpses, and they are burning day and night 24/7. Other than that, I don't get a chance to see a channel ground as well. So the channel ground in the Buddha's time, it's like a special place where people, certain groups of people do not have proper kind of burial or even cremation. So they are sort of thrown or left on the surface, right? And these are the places where yogis sort of are encouraged to sit there and contemplate, meditate on the bodies, to see that, okay, one day I'll turn to this thing. So this was the long time ago. I'm not sure whether they still practice this today. So in modern days, modern times, certain Buddhist countries, they have certain facilities, like maybe hospitals, where monks are able to have this sort of privilege to get invited to watch autopsies, watch doctors cutting up bodies into pieces and that kind of stuff. So, and interestingly, you can even find some of them on YouTube. Yeah, so nowadays it's all online. So it's a bit R-rated. So if you're a bit faint of heart, please do not watch that. Yeah, some people when they see blood they'll faint. So not meant for everybody. Okay, next. Okay, so again, it has to align with the objectives. It's not contemplating on the body parts for the sake of contemplating them, right? If not, all the surgeons and doctors will be the first to reach enlightenment. Yeah, they're the first to overcome greed and desire. So there's this thing called a natural kind of unpleasant feeling. We're going to talk about it later in the next segment. So when we perceive something, there will be natural, pleasant and or unpleasant kind of feelings that arise when we observe or when we watch an object, when we contact with our senses, hear something, smell, taste, think or touch. So when we perceive an object, either we have pleasant, unpleasant or neutral feeling. So in the case we watch the corpse rotting, most people, the natural feeling will be an unpleasant kind of feeling, right? So that unpleasant feeling is not a way to reduce craving, because an unpleasant feeling, the next factor after, you need to go back. Yeah. So the next factor after feeling will be clinging or craving. So it is our reaction to the image. So if we have aversion or disgust or fear to, when we react to these images, then it is producing craving. It is a form of craving. So it doesn't overcome suffering. So perceiving these body contemplations by itself, so doesn't end craving if you do not know the objective. So the objective here, you need to read through the first paragraph. So this is the chorus again, the stop formula. In this way, he remains focused internally on the body in and of itself, or externally in the body in and of itself, right? So it means internally of the body, that means your own body. That means you can visualize your body, or you can look at the external body, like in the Chandra kind of meditations, when you just look at somebody else's corpse, yeah? Or both internally and externally on the body in and of itself. So what it means, a person can just contemplate the body. There are these contemplations of feelings, mind and the Dhamma, which you can exclude. If a person just contemplates the body, that's totally fine, right? And the second paragraph, for he remains focused on the phenomenon of origination with regard to the body, on the phenomenon of passing away with regard to the body, or on the phenomenon of origination and passing away with regard to the body. So in the case of a decaying body, that is actually passing away. That means the thing withering and falling off, passing away. So origination is like you have to reimagine maybe the hair growing back or the skin growing back. So the cells are always rebuilding. So there's always birth and death going on in our bodies. So this is a phenomenon of origination and passing away. So if a person can't do both, he just do one. Yeah. Or his mindfulness that there is a body is maintained to the extent of knowledge and remembrance, and he remains independent, unsustained by not clinging to anything in the world. That is how a monk remains focused on the body in and of itself. So the objective is to overcome clinging or craving. Yeah. So I mentioned before, when we just perceive an object, any kind of image, maybe a beautiful image or maybe a rotting image, we have induced feelings of pleasant or unpleasant kind of feelings. So our reaction towards it is either greed or aversion. Greed or aversion. So in this kind of bodily contemplation, the first thing we're going to do normally is do loving kindness first. Loving kindness first. So we have to wish the parts of the body well and happy before we start to contemplate on the decaying, right? So the decaying of the body is actually to counter greed, while loving kindness is to counter aversion. So both of them constitute craving. So craving can be aversion, which is pushing away, and greed, which is pulling anything that you feel it's nice, you want it, so you pull it. So these two thoughts, right? Loving kindness and this impermanence is to reduce craving and eventually reduce clinging. Right, so this is how we normally practice in our routine. So if a person straight away start off with body rotting straight away without loving kindness, and the mind may not be able to accept. So if they just do for the sake of doing this decaying, then the mind is, you're forcing the mind. The mind is not open, not accepting enough to embrace this change, right? So if a person is less tolerant, they will just say, oh, body not feeling well, maybe I have lots of worries, they want to go and have a checkup, see the doctor and whatever not. So that's fine, nothing wrong, but there's producing unnecessary fear and worry of the mind and restlessness. So the whole idea of loving kindness is to make the mind more accepting, Okay, this change is real, accept this realism. Okay, next slide. Okay, so before we talk about feelings, I forgot to mention. So again, there's two, these greed and aversion to practicing these bodily contemplations, like the impurity of body or the body decomposition. One good example is I watched before this body world exhibition. Body world exhibition. Some people are so obsessed with the beautification of the internal parts of the body, when they put formalin and whatever plastination to contain and prevent the decaying process of the internal organs. So they find the body is so beautiful, so amazing. So some people are like that. So they don't create this passion. So this is one form of craving, right? So if a person practice these bodily contemplations, not in line with the middle path, they might end up like this. So this is one probability, when the more they do, the more craving they have. Oh, this body, the blood is so beautiful, the heart is so beautiful, and whatever not. So this is one sort of extreme they might fall into. The other extreme is definitely aversion, depression, and eventual suicidal. So this is the both extremes we are trying to avoid. So the first thing we do is loving kindness, followed by impermanence of the body. Okay, so next one is feelings. So this is the second foundation of mindfulness. So we've already covered the first part, right? So the second part is, and how does a monk remain focused on feelings in and of themselves? There's the case where a monk, number one, when feeling a painful feeling, discerns, I'm feeling a painful feeling. So this is feeling number one, painful feeling. Feeling number two, pleasant feeling, right? When feeling a pleasant feeling, he discerns, I'm feeling a pleasant feeling. And feeling number three, it's called neutral feeling, neither painful nor pleasant. So these are the three kinds of feeling. So these three kinds of feeling normally we call it, in the last year's talk on dependent origination, from ignorance, the first thing, all the way to these feelings. We call this the natural, response, reflex kind of chain reaction. We can't do much about it. But what happens next? We call it self-inflicted suffering. So when a person experiences painful feeling, an untrained person, an untrained meditator or non-meditator, the default programming is to react to painful feeling with aversion or fear. So this is one way to respond or react to this painful feeling. So this is reaction number one. And reaction number two to pleasant feeling is greed. And number three, neither painful nor pleasant feeling, a neutral feeling, will be reacted with delusion. Delusion, right? So let's say a meditator, if they meditate, some people or most people have this problem when they meditate, very still, very silent, and very neutral. Then they just want to stay with this quietness. The mind doesn't want to produce right thought. So when a person just wants to relax and stay with the peace, or stay with and do nothing, that is actually a kind of delusion. When they experience this, neither painful nor pleasant feeling, it's like very nothing, there's no feeling, right? So a person just sit there and just do nothing. And they will fall into this, we call it delusion, reacting with delusion. So when a person reacts with delusion, that is also a form of craving. A form of craving doesn't solve this clinging issue. So a person cling to this maybe relatively nice and quiet, calm state, and it's actually no different from what we do before we sleep. So if a person does this in meditation, it means you're not learning anything. You're just practicing how to go to sleep. Okay, next. Okay, so the next portion is more on the mental kind of feeling. So when feeling a painful feeling of the flesh, in a sense, I'm feeling a painful feeling of the flesh, and feeling a painful feeling not of the flesh. In a sense, I'm feeling a painful feeling out of the flesh. So if let's say you want to feel a painful feeling of the flesh, you can just slap your hand, right at the back of your hand, then you know this is painful feeling of the flesh. And painful feeling not of the flesh, that is your imagination, can be past trauma, past experiences, that is not what you experience in the nervous system right now. So this is painful feeling not of the flesh. And number two, when feeling a pleasant feeling of the flesh. Similarly, right, in this sense, I'm feeling a pleasant feeling of the flesh. When feeling a pleasant feeling not of the flesh, in this sense, I'm feeling a pleasant feeling not of the flesh. So similarly, pleasant feeling, so if you feel something nice, can be a scratch, something pleasant feeling, and then in the mind, whatever pleasant feeling, then it's not occurring right now. So this is pleasant feeling not of the flesh. And when feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling of the flesh, so it's a neutral feeling, it's a neutral feeling of the flesh. And when feeling a neutral feeling not of the flesh, in this sense, I'm feeling a neutral feeling not of the flesh. Right, so this is again the same thing. All right, next slide. Okay, so when we contemplate on these feelings, so I think I've covered, in this way it remains focused internally on the feelings in and of themselves, or externally on the feelings in and of themselves, or both internally and externally on the feelings in and of themselves. So there's these two interpretations again. So the first interpretation on what is internal and external. So the internal can be what's in the mind. So we talk about the feelings not of the flesh. So that might be the internal. And the external feelings is this, the one on the flesh, the one we can feel. So this is the first interpretation. And the second kind of interpretation is internal feelings. That means what you feel, both mentally and physically, and externally. That means someone else's feeling. Or maybe some people have higher EQ, or maybe they're more sensitive, they're able to know an external party's feelings. So this is another interpretation. Okay, and the second point, or he remains focused on the phenomenon of origination with regard to feelings, or the phenomenon of passing away with regard to feelings, or on the phenomenon of origination and passing away with regard to feelings. Okay, so feelings change. Feelings change. So one good experiment is we can just pay attention to one thing. It can be this screen, just fix maybe your attention to one picture or one word, or you can use your sense of touch. Feel one part of the body for a certain period of time, and you might be able to observe certain changes in feeling. So maybe one moment, maybe you might find, okay, the background picture might be pleasant looking, nice feeling. And the next moment you stare long enough, okay, you get sick of this design. So you might have unpleasant feeling, or you might find it neutral. So feelings change over a period of time. Okay, or his mindfulness that there are feelings is maintained to extent of knowledge and remembrance. So if you're unable to observe the impermanence of the feelings, then you just be patient. So the whole idea is to be patient, are able to just note feeling, and eventually you're able to observe the impermanence. So this is the way to sort of reduce this clinging. So interestingly, in the Anapanasati Sutta, right, the second quadrant, actually, the second 4 steps of the 16 steps, so means the number 5 to number 8, I think, is talk about mindful of pleasant feelings, this pleasure and this rapture, mindful of these pleasant feelings. So the first portion is you're not mindful of the rising and passing away of these feelings. That means it's a samatha kind of meditation. So similarly, if a person is not, if you're doing number 3, that is more samatha based. So if you're just observing one feeling, this pleasant feeling, you're unable to observe the change, then this is just an incentive to bring the mind back, bring the scattered mind back. And so this is just to unify the mind. But eventually, a person has to observe this arising and passing away. All right, so today we've covered the second foundation of mindfulness. So this is, now it's 9 o'clock, and I'm going to open the floor to Q&A. Any questions on the ground or on the Facebook comments? Today there are slightly more people on the Zoom, but they are the unseen beings. So if you're too shy, you can also type your question on the chat over here. No, nothing. All good. All ready to head on for meditation. Okay, if there's really no questions or problems or issues, then we can have a 5-minute break, yeah, after this sort of short lecture, give you time to digest. Okay, so then we can come back 5 minutes later. So it's 9:03 on my clock, so 9:08. We can see you back here later. Okay, so today's routine, we are going through mainly whatever we've covered, just mindfulness of the body, and if you want a bit of the feelings, whichever is more obvious to you. Okay, so the first phase of the meditation is a bit of this visualization. So first going to visualize the hairs. Imagine like you're looking in the mirror, yeah? So you look at your own hair, and we're going to sort of first wish the hair is well and happy. So from head to toe, all the hairs of the head and all the hairs of the body, may they be well and happy. Okay, and we're going to take our time to wish every hair from head to toe well and happy. So the phrasing is important. So the wish in your mind, you cannot say wish my hair. Yeah? So once you wish my hair, then definitely there'll be clinging. So we try to use it in objective, third person kind of phrasing. Wish all the hair is well and happy. Once you're done with wishing your hairs well and happy, then you can introduce the other thought on impermanence. So we're going through the mini decay process of the hairs. So all these hairs are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So they grow long, get dirty, oily, and sweaty, and they turn white. Sometimes they have other issues, maybe cracks or splits, and eventually they fall off. Every day there's lots of hair falling off. So hair grows, gets old, fall off. And grow, gets old, fall off. So if you do it correctly by right, craving should reduce, clinging should reduce. And if the more you observe, the more clinging or more craving, then something is wrong, yeah? And then we can ask ourselves in our mind, are these hairs truly self? If it is truly self, can you tell the hairs not to go through this birth and death? And the next part of the body, we are going to visualize the nails. We are going to wish all the nails well and happy, all the fingernails, may they be well and happy, and all the toenails, may they be well and happy. And all the nails are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So they grow long, they get dirty, they collect dirt, and sometimes they discolor. Maybe sometimes due to diseases or malnutrition, and they go through wear and tear, scratches, cracks, or they even chip off. Every time you scratch something hard, some of the dead cells, they fall off. Yeah? So like how we file our nails turn to powder. Yeah? And then we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through this birth and death? And for those who, let's say, are falling sleepy in this visualization exercise, then I would encourage you to focus more on the impermanence, generate more impermanence. Yeah. So this might create some activity, and we call it wakefulness. And the next part of the body, we're going to visualize the teeth. All the teeth in the mouth, may they be well and happy. All the upper rows of teeth, may they be well and happy. And all the lower rows of teeth, may they be well and happy. And all these teeth are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and death. So they change in shape and size over time, and they get dirty, and they discolor, or the plaque buildup, get more yellowish, and they turn brown, decay, and then they turn black, and they have tooth cavities, they grow holes, they loosen up, get shaky, and eventually they fall off. So the teeth only can, the most you have one more adult tooth, and so you cannot keep growing and falling your teeth. So this we can do once or twice. Okay, so these teeth, then you can ask yourself, are these teeth truly self? Can you tell the teeth not to go through this birth and death? And the next part of the body, we are going to visualize the skin that surround the whole body. May all the skin be well and happy from head to toe. So all this skin are subject to this birth and aging, sickness, and passing away. So the skin, they get oily, sweaty, dirty, and they wrinkle up when it's older. Sometimes you have skin problems, like when it's too dry, it cracks. Then it turns red when there's itchiness, rashes, boils, pimples, etc., etc. And eventually all the skin will fall off. Every day we have lots and lots of skin falling off. All the dead skin falling, new skin growing, and to think of the growing and falling process. And we can ask ourselves, are this skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through this birth and death? And the next phase of meditation, we are also going to feel the entire body, right? So this time around, we're going to feel the four elements. So to start off simple, we start off with the earth element, any hard and soft sensations. So we give you time from head, right, to toe. You're going to slowly feel all the hard and soft sensations. Identify the earth element. So from your scalp and your rest of the face, can be the bones or the cheek muscles. So this time around doesn't have to be on the surface of the body. Earlier on, we visualize the external parts of the body. So the sensation can be inside, yeah? So once you finish your head, your jaw, and get to know all the sensations. So while feeling the sensations, we are going to wish the sensations well and happy. Whenever there's a change in the sensation, from hard to soft, from soft to hard, I'm going to wish it well and happy. And then we can go down to the neck and shoulder region. We wish all the earth element well and happy. All the sensations of the earth element arising and passing away. You just treat them as guests. Yeah? No need to cling or hold on to them, and no need to reject them. So this loving kindness is more like the middle anchor. Yeah? And then we can move down to the arms, left and right arms. You're going to wish all the earth element sensations well and happy, and the arising of dense or hard feelings, or the softness, right? And the arising and passing away, any form of hardness and softness. And while observing, make sure You are not deliberately generating those sensations, and all this, they come on themselves. You just be a passive observer. So the whole idea is to also gain some insight, the nature of this mind matter. And once you're done with the arms, then you can move to the torso region, your chest and abdomen. Whatever change in density by the earth element, we wish it well and happy. So let's say you are again for those who are getting sleepy, and you observe or investigate this earth element. Where does it come from? Where does it disappear to? Where is it? Where is its origination? Once you're done the front, then we think of the back of the body, your spinal cord, your shoulder blades, all the way down to the tailbone. And when observe all the arising and passing away of all the earth element, the density, change in density, and we're going to wish it well and happy. And then we can move on to the hip region, contact of your seat, all the way down to the rest of the feet. You're going to feel the earth element, right? Any change in density, rising and passing away on the earth element sensations. You're going to wish them well and happy. And the next element will be the maybe a fire element. So now it's hot and cold, yeah, the temperature. So same thing from the head down. So you're starting from the head first, whatever hot and cold sensation, any change in the fire element, we are going to just wish it well and happy. No need to deliberately generate heat, right? Just observe, yeah? So interestingly, the heat element is invisible. I cannot see with the naked eye. So you cannot visualize it. So the four elements is more of a sensation, and the impurity of the body is more of the real physical 32 parts of the body. And once you're done with the head, then we can move down to the neck and shoulder region. Whatever heat generated or dissipated, we are going to wish it well and happy. Any change from hot to cold, cold to hot, we wish it well and happy. Once you're done the neck and shoulder regions, then can move on to the arms, and left and right arms, all the way down to the fingertips. Whatever change in temperature and the heat element, we wish it well and happy. And then we can think of the torso region, chest and the abdomen, rib cage and all the organs inside, right? Whatever temperature produced or dissipate, we can just wish them well and happy. Then we can think of the back of the body, right? Spinal cord, the shoulder blades all the way down to the tailbone, whatever temperature change, we just wish it well and happy. So we are not doing any form of qigong or kind of chakra energy channeling or healing. We're just observing the elements as it is. And then we can think of the hip region, contact with the seat, and all the way down to the rest of the feet. Whatever heat generated or lost, we just wish them well and happy. And the next element is the wind element. So wind represents movements, fast and slow movements. So it can be the breath, it can be a heartbeat, any kind of movement. It can be the blood circulation, it can be itchiness, something crawling on your skin, whatever it is, right? So movement, any form of movement, mental movement as well, right? So we can start from the head. And observe the crown all the way down, the rest of the face, whatever movements, fast or slow, we wish it well and happy. So if you're able to start to connect, how the four elements are sort of how to call it, in continuation with each other, that's great. If you can't, then you just see it as just wind element first. And then we can move down to the neck and shoulder region. Whatever movements, fast or slow, we wish them well and happy. And then we can move on to the arms, left and right arms, all the way down to the fingertips. Whatever movements, fast or slow, we wish them well and happy. And then we can think of the torso region, chest and abdomen. Right, whatever fast and slow movements, we wish them well and happy. So if you cannot feel any movement, means you have no heart, no heartbeat. And then we can think of the back area, your spinal cord, your shoulder blades all the way down to the tailbone, whatever sensation or movement, we wish it well and happy. And you can think of your hip region, contact of the seat, all the way down to the rest of your feet, whatever sensation of movement, fast or slow, we wish them well and happy. And the last element is the water element. So basically water is moisture, either moist or dry. So any sensation, you can feel that maybe your perspiration, there's something physical, or it can be a mental kind of water element. You can feel some form of traction or bonding or some kind of stickiness, gluing, yeah? Any form of combining. So any this kind of sensations, we call it water element. It's a bit like traction. They call it traction on the glass, surface of a glass. Right, when you put water, so it can have this kind of stick on this glass. Right, so we're going to observe from head to toe. Whatever sensation of the water element, moist or dry, and we're going to wish them well and happy. And then we can think of the neck and shoulder region, right? Whatever sensation of the water element, moist and dry, may they be well and happy. And then we can move down to the arms and rest of the fingers. Whatever sensation of the water element, moist or dry, or any changes, we wish them well and happy. And then we can think of the torso, the chest and the abdomen region, whatever water element sensations, moist or dry, we wish them well and happy. Not sure about you all, now the weather is getting warmer here. Initially it was very cold, lots of rain, and then lots of wind. Now there's more sunshine. So some people like perspire more or whatever. Okay, and the And then we can think of the back of the body, the spinal cord, shoulder blades, all the way down to the rest of the tailbone. We are going to observe the water element sensation, whatever moist or dry sensations, we wish them well and happy. And once we're done, we can think of the hip region, the contact of the seat, all the way down to the rest of the feet. We are going to wish all the water element sensations, moist or dry, well and happy. And once we're done, then we can move on to the next phase of meditation, which is observing the breath. Right, so we are now going to restrict the attention to one small area below the nostril, above the upper lip. So I've already felt the sort of big breath body, so now it's a smaller area below the nostril, above the upper lip. No need to visualize anything, just sense of touch. Feel the in and out breath, contact with the skin, which is below the nostril. No need to feel your diaphragm, your lungs, and your windpipe. And no need to control your breathing. So the same thing, and inhalation, wish it well. Exhalation, wish the breath happy. No need to control or force the mind. No need to fight with the breath. So every inhalation, wish it well, and every exhalation, wish it happy. You have to produce this right thought frequently. If not, once we just hold on still, we're there, then we call it delusion and clinging. There's an old English idiom or proverb, forgotten. Yeah, so it's saying an idle mind is a workshop for the devil. So once you just relax and do nothing, then the Mara will come. Yeah? Or the stray thoughts, restlessness, worry, or the fantasy and whatever, sleepiness, all come. Inhale well, exhale happy. And once you're generally at peace in the breath, then we can now focus on the impermanence of the breath. So when we breathe in and out, you can observe the rising and passing away of the breath, or you can observe the four elements of the breath. Four element sensations: hard, soft sensation, moist, dry, warm, cold. Right, so whatever change, then you just observe rising, passing away. Don't have to deliberately create this experience. You just observe it as a passive observer. So the whole idea is to generate a right thought of this impermanence. You can call it whatever label you want: rising, falling, origination, passing away, impermanence, birth, death, whichever label that suits you. Yeah? Whole idea is keep repeating every moment, not just one small area, but even an extended area, bigger area, when the mind is even scattered or restricted, large or small, wherever you place your mind, always mindful of impermanence. So with that in mind, now it's 10 o'clock. We can physically conclude the meditation, but mentally we sort of slowly digest this philosophy, this teaching of impermanence, and try to apply in whatever cognitive processes or function we are doing. Okay, so meditation is not just this sitting, it's all activities. Like we mentioned last week, all postures, all activities. So it is just formal conditioning. All right, okay, any questions? Now it's 10 o'clock. No issues, all okay, all doing fine. Oh yes, Johnny.
So I want to ask during the sharing just now.
Yeah.
There is a body, feeling, mind, and Dhamma, right? And for body, there are few parts, 6 parts.
Six aspects.
So are we supposed to do all, or we can just focus on one, say, upper lips?
Okay, yeah, you can just do one.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if a person wants to specialize, maybe to say the breath meditation, that's fine. But there's a limitation because breath meditation can only do while you are still. Maybe you're sitting or lying down or standing, then you can do this breath meditation. But if you're on the go, then you might try other forms of meditation. So the other aspects like the mindfulness of 4 postures, the 4 elements, the activities, even the 32 parts of the body can be done visualizing when you're walking around. So there are other aspects which can be done 24/7, except for the breath. Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If there's yeah.
There's one question in Facebook.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. The question is, Bhante, is visualizing a decaying body is a part of meditation process?
Yes, it is. It's mentioned in the last aspect of the mindfulness of the body, and it's the decomposition of the body. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, no problem. So probably the person who asked the question joined in halfway, didn't attend the lecture. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, then we can end the session.
Bhante,
Yeah.
can I have a request?
Yep.
We have a sister here in Klang who are very sick. We would like to dedicate a marriage to her.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully that she will recover soon.
Right.
Her name is Sister Chok Siu Cheng.
Okay, all right.
All right. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, yeah. So whatever we dedicate the merits is just an external form of help. Yeah, the main thing is she herself must produce the right thoughts and produce the right causes. Okay, so yeah, and like for example, physically she also have to see the doctor and all those. So I'm not promoting miracle cures. We just do our part in the spiritual aspect, but physically, they have to do their part also. Okay, so now we're going to do the chant. Is there a share screen? Okay. Okay, Anumodana, dedication of merits. So again, besides Sister Gyok, right, we can also think of these all beings, okay? Akasatha cha bhumata devanaga mahitika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu loka sasanang etavata cha amhihi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe buddha sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sabbati siddhya. Transference of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. And eventually aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samakamo sat Sata samagamo hotu yawa nibbana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, all right. Any announcements from Terence?
There's no announcements, Bhante. We'll
All right.
continue the class next week.
Okay, good night and see you all next week.
Good night.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.